So about a week ago on June 19th, the very serious Juniper Dev Game Jam started and revealed its theme.
This entire time. The theme for the very serious Juniper Dev Game Jam is...
And now I'm burdened with the responsibility to complete a game that follows that theme in 7 days. For this game I will be using the Unity game engine, except I kinda despise Unity 6, so we're using a downgraded version. I started with making a vehicle system and tried making a basic soapbox car. No engine, no gear train, just a box with wheels. The wheels on this contraption are actually fake and aren't physically simulated. You might assume that this lack of detail is some compromise for performance, but really it gives me way more control over how the wheels push the car and stops things like the wheel colliders getting caught on the edges of surfaces that aren't 100% smooth. For example, I could read the difference of speed of the wheel and the car and cause the wheels to screech when it's pushing too much, drastically lowering their friction. For this screech noise, I was trying to use Pixabay to find an audio sample of a wheel screeching, but I couldn't find a long enough clip, and the wheel I did find sounded terrible. So instead I made my own by filtering white noise with a kind of comb filter. I then later edited the sound to include some higher frequencies to make it a little more of a painful noise. Now for the engine mechanics. It took an amount of tweaking that I'm unwilling to admit for the engine to wheel gear train to act how I wanted. So much so that I made a little test environment with dummy cars that have different amounts of wheels. This is day 2, by the way, and I still don't have the roulette wheel. So I made the roulette wheel. I wrote a shader that segments the UV coordinates of a quad into angles, then does some trigonometry magic to draw the lines in. The color of each segment is pulled from a carefully crafted gradient texture. 2 options are red and blue. 3 options are red, blue, and yellow. 4 options are red, blue, yellow, and green, etc. The gradient ensures that any amount of options on the wheel look pleasing and complementary. I then worked on the actual system to handle the actions of these prizes, and they all work entirely on a serialized list of serialized Unity events. If you know Unity, then you would have gagged. Listen, it's a game jam game. You gotta sacrifice code flow for a faster iteration and assembly. Come day 3, and we're getting eerily close to the deadline with a car game that doesn't have a car. So we quickly made a car, assuming quickly means 6 hours. The panels on the car are separated so that they could be procedurally decoupled, and the frame has a damage state blend shape so you can visually see how close to failure you are. Why would a driving game need destruction physics and health? Well, we refined the concept and honed in on the idea of the game being a demolition derby. That way, the prizes have a lot more gravity and add chaos to an already chaotic and hectic environment. Okay, so this testing map is cool and all, but I need an actual arena to do the derby in. So I modeled this the next day, and also began modeling an enemy car after. Once I was done with the model, I made sure to export it to the wrong file so that I could redo the map model, because I wasn't quite happy with the sand terrain. You could tell how glad I was that I remembered to destroy the map file, because I really wanted to redo it. After I remodeled the map, I started setting up the enemy AI. Pretty much its goal is to ram into the player over and over, though it seems to only be able to drive backwards. Oh, this is just all types of wrong. Well, as a distraction, I made the very fun and not confusing at all main menu. The idea is that you navigate this radio screen using a single knob and a button. I made it play little noises and play a menu song so you could hear the volume adjustments in real time. The next enemy I wanted to add was a pickup truck. But this time it's going to be more dangerous, so it has spikes. I made it to where the spikes will create temporary physics constraints with the player whenever they get hit, so they get stuck in and have to be ripped out with force. The spikes also fall off after enough damage, though dealing damage is missing some impact, so I made a bunch of random pieces of scrap for a particle effect whenever collisions happen, as well as an explosion effect for when enemies die. During this day, I also modeled the cartoonish engine that is responsible for smoking at lower health and exploding. It hasn't been fun having the enemy car immediately spawn in and attack me while I'm trying to get out of the main menu, so I made this door to lock him away forever. Now he only comes out once the player has entered the arena. I then made it to where the next enemy will spawn in once the current one is dead. And it shows the victory text on the radio once you defeat all of the enemy cars. I also made the radio show warning text whenever you take critical damage, such as your wheels popping and deflating, which hasn't been added yet. So I fixed that. At this point, I started implementing a lot of the random events that the wheel could choose, and made some simple models for objects that could show up. All we're missing now is the final, third enemy car. For that I made a monster truck whose wheels are so high up that you can only hit him by using the hill to get an angle on him. Though, since it's hard for you to hit him, that makes it hard for him to hit you, so not really much of a challenge. So I attached this giant spike ball to his rear with a chain. Now he just whips around this high damage ball. Now the game is almost complete, but so is the deadline. We got a crunch to get this thing more than almost complete. I quickly finished the last song, then imported all of the music I had made at that point, and entered in their BPM, as well as composing an ending track for all of them. Once the enemy car begins exploding, the radio will wait for the end of the current measure and then seamlessly transition into the ending measure. That way, the songs always end climactically in time for the next enemy. On deadline day, I made the cover art and itch.io page and hosted a playtest with my friends. I got a lot of information from them and fixed many things before the deadline and our files were locked down, such as tutorial text for how to use the radio menu and some balancing changes like removing this annoying blind spot in third-person mode. After that, it was done. A finished game for all to judge, including the host, Juniper Dev, who gave it a 10 out of 10! And you could judge it too. It's freely available. Though I will warn you, the web build on the itch.io page has a little bit of a performance issue. Not my fault or anything, it's just how 3D graphics does on a web browser. It's just slow. In retrospect, there are some things that I could add and change about this game to make a full release and charge money for it. But I have plenty of games waiting for that exact thing as it is. So I'll wait until it's either on my chopping block or forced its way there through sheer popularity. Regardless, thank you for watching, and until another day, farewell. If you know Unity, then you would... Oh my god, what just happened?